to Intro to Programming in Python. Now, I've made a few Intro to Programming type videos on my channel already, but these videos, this series, is going to be following CSE110 if you're at BYU-Idaho. The College BYU-Idaho has this course, is it CIT? Is that correct? Am I saying it wrong? Oh, CSE, maybe I did say that. CSE110, which is an Intro to Programming class, and right now they use Python. A little side note here, if you are not attending BYU-I or you're not taking this course, feel free to stay because the things that I'm teaching you, you can do on your own. I'm a big believer that anybody can code. It takes a little bit of hard work and dedication, but I believe everybody can do it that wants to learn. If you're anything like me, when I first started off programming as an electrical engineer, I didn't understand programming very well. I had a very hard time wrapping my head around it, and there were just some aspects of it that were just really difficult for me to wrap my head around. And so I'm hoping here, with these videos, I can help those people that are having a harder time wrapping their heads around the logic, around the idea that's going on with programming, and hopefully guide them and hopefully help them understand a little bit better how programming works. Now, for the first week of CSE110, they don't require too much of you. What's required is that you set up your programs, all the things you're going to need so that you can program throughout the semester. Now, the two programs that I recommend are either VSC for Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. Let me actually pull up Sublime Text over here so you guys can see it. All right, Sublime Text is right here. Here we go. This is Sublime Text. It is another viable option if you don't want to use Visual Studio Code. I like Visual Studio Code for a few reasons, but it's not required, especially for this class. Not required. I'll show you how to do your assignments on both text editors because it's just slightly different. It's not much different, but it's slightly different. And we're going to talk about both of those today. But for now, we're going to talk about Visual Studio Code just for a moment. Almost everything between Visual Studio Code and Sublime Text or any other text editor, if you wanted to use the text editor built into your system, like, what's it called? Notepad, that's what it's called. Notepad, if you want to use that, or you wanted to use Notepad++, if you want to use all those different kinds of things, you can. They work just fine. But these text editors are specifically built for programming, so it makes it a little bit easier. There's a couple things that just kind of make it easier to go along with. Now, first of all, on Visual Studio Code, there's some plugins to help you run what you need to run. First off, you're going to click on Extensions over here, this Extensions button. Here you're going to see all the ones that you've installed. I've installed quite a lot. I have a C#, I have some Jupyter stuff I believe came with the C#. But what we're looking for here is you want Python. You can also do PyLance if you want to, but that's okay. You can also just do straight up Python. Both just work. One might install the other by default. You might get PyLance just because you got Python. I'm not sure if that's how that works, but go ahead and just install this Python by Microsoft. Install it. It may take a little bit of time, but when it's finished, come on back to the video and we'll continue from there. Now, if you have Sublime Text, you're going to have to do things a little bit differently. Not much, just a little bit. First off, if you're on a Mac, you have Python built into the Mac already. Macs come pre-built with Python in them, and I'll show you how to check for that in just a second. But we have here downloads. If you're on Windows, you'll have to go here to downloads. If you want to use Sublime Text, you'll have to go through here. You'll do downloads, and you'll click on Python, or right now it's 3.11.3, but it could update in the future. When you click on that, it's going to start downloading. I don't want it to do that because I've already downloaded Python. There's no point to download it twice, but it'll download and then you can open it and then run it. All right, so now if you want to check what version you have, if you already have it, or to check that it installed correctly, you're going to go to something called PowerShell, Windows PowerShell. Okay, and then let me zoom in a little bit here. And you're going to type something like this, Python -- version. If you hit enter, that's going to pop up your Python version right here. Now, I have 3.11.3, which is what they were offering right here. Now, if you're on Mac and you just want to make sure that you have it, you go to something called Terminal, which is basically the same thing as the PowerShell. When you open that, you're going to type in Python -v, and then you hit enter, and that should pop up a version. If it doesn't, you might have to type in something like Python 3, all one word, Python number 3, kind of like this, Python 3 -v, whoops, -v. You might have to type it in like that. I've had instances with my Mac that I've had to type it a little bit differently to try to get it to show up, but it's either going to say Python -v or Python 3 -v. You can try all those variations, and it should give you a version. Once again, let me reiterate, if you're using Visual Studio Code, you do not have to download Python to your computer. If you are using Sublime Text or any other text editor, you will need to have Python downloaded on your computer. Now, let's get to all the juicy stuff. Let's get to how we write a program, which is what you're all here for. Now, in BYU-I, how this class works is it'll give you two prepare files, which you'll create two prepare files that'll kind of prepare you for what you're going to do. Shut up, phone! Those two files will prepare you for what's coming up in the week. So you'll have those two, then you'll have an independent file that you need to write, and that's just kind of a little bit bigger. It's kind of taking those two prepare files that you already made, mashing them together, making something new with it. And then you'll have a prove file, and that's usually the one you'll have to submit throughout the week, that last fourth file. That'll be the one that you submit, called prove. And it will be a mix-up of the individual file, the two prepares, and all the things that you learned that week. All right, so let's jump in. Over here on my desktop here, I have created a CSE110 file with no spaces and all lowercase. I put that on my desktop. You can put yours wherever you would like. It does not matter, but I put it on my desktop just for easy access. All right, and so as you open your Visual Studio Code, you'll get a welcome screen, kind of like how I got earlier. I can actually pull that back up, Pull up a new window. You'll get this welcome. Let's close that. You'll come up with this when you open it for the very first time. Now you'll have over here an Explorer. This will open up the folder that you may have open or don't have open. Right now I don't have one. But you'll see here, you can also just click here, open a folder, and you're going to navigate to your desktop and you're going to open the CSE110 folder. You do not have to organize your files the way that I am. I'm just going to show you my preferred way to do it so that everything kind of makes sense as you go throughout this course. So here you have this folder of CSE110. You can open another folder, which I would recommend you do, and I put week 01. Okay, and that's what I call it, just week 01, so I can keep all of my week 1 stuff together. To go through these buttons real quick, I know I just clicked on one. New folder is that one. That's a new file. And then this one over here is like a refresh, if you ever need to refresh the list, which you shouldn't really ever have to do very often, but that's it. This is a collapse button. It kind of just brings everything together. I don't really use too many of those buttons. I just use the new file and the new folder button more frequently than not. You can also right click on the folder and click new file, and it will jump right in. So you're going to call the first file prepare, I'll call it prepare1, prepare1.py. Okay, now the requirement for this one is very simple. All you need to do is you need to take input from the user through the terminal. You'll say, what is your favorite color? Take that in and then reprint it back out and just say your favorite color is this. Very simple, especially in just a small Python file that we have right here. This is probably the simplest code you will ever write, akin to a hello world. Also, I guess we can start with that. You start with a hello world like this. Okay, all you have to do is you have to say print and then hello world in quotes. That's it. For a Python file, that's all you have to do. Now, if you've installed the Python extensions correctly, you'll see a play button up here. And since you named the file .py, the Visual Studio Code already understands that this is a Python file. But you have to terminate this file with a .py or else it won't work. Terminate with a .py, and then Visual Studio Code understands that this is a Python file, and then there's a play button and it says run Python file. You can also check down here to make sure you're running the correct thing. There's Python. It says that you're running that language. But if you hit play, imagine what's going to happen. It's going to say hello world. So kind of like this is probably, again, one of the simplest things that you're going to do. You need to create a variable to store the information that the person gives you. Now, the easiest way to do that is to just type it out. Just type out the name of the variable that you want. For example, I'm going to call this one name. Say name equals, whoops, input, or I guess it's not name, it was color, wasn't it? That's what I said? Color. We'll call it color. And then we'll say, what is your, I could spell, your favorite color. Oh my goodness. Color. If I have not had a worse spelling day than what I've got right now, I swear I've never had such a bad spelling day in my life. So now you've created this variable. The variable is called color, and what's going to go into the color, the variable color? It's an input. All right, well, what do you want the input to say? You can say, what is your favorite color? If you don't want anything to pop up, if you just want someone to type something in, if you just want it to pop up and have just a space and have someone type something in, you leave out everything inside of here. You just put it like that. Then whatever gets input is going to get shoved into this color. We don't want that. We want someone to understand what we're doing here. They want to know what we're asking of them. So what is your favorite color? Okay. Now all you have to do is you have to type another print statement and then just say color. Simple enough, easy enough. You hit Control S, save it. All you have to do is come over here, hit play. It says, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. Hit enter, prints blue. Now, something that this program taught you, or I guess not taught you, but something that they wanted you to display was on top of it just saying blue, you wanted to say your favorite color is, and then say blue. And the way they wanted you to do that was like this. Oh my word. There we go. You can say your favorite color is, and you hit save. And if you run this file again, it'll do that same thing. You'll say blue, and it'll say your favorite color is blue. Easy as that. Easy as pie, right? So what they want you to do for this file is to take in someone's name and then print it back out to them in James Bond style. So you'll have to, of course, take input of a first name and a last name, and then you'll have to print that back out. And they want that on the same line. They don't want that broken out like it was before. Come here to this Python 1 file. They don't want print your favorite color is, print colors. They wouldn't want you to say your name is Bond, James Bond, you know, down the line. They want it all in one line instead of it being broken up. Name. What's your first name? What is your last name? Done. Now you've asked someone for their name, and you're going to input it in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to print it back out. And as I was just saying, they don't want you to say something like, your name is, and then print F name, print L name. If I could, that's not how that works. So they don't want something like this, like what I'm showing here. They want something a little bit different. They want it all in the same line, like I said before. Now how you do that is you use an F, like a function. So basically how you do that is you come up here and you type the word print, then you put your opening parentheses, and you say F, and then do the apostrophe, or the single quotes, okay? I think you can also do double quotes. I'm actually not sure. I'm actually unclear if you can do, oh, it looks like you can. Looks like you can. But when I'm doing this, I like to do single quotes, but it doesn't really matter. You can do these single quotes, and then inside here you can put variables and words in a string together. So for example, you can say your name is, then you do that. Now this is how you put a variable in here. You'll say your name is L name, your name is Bond, comma, F name, L name, like this. So now you have this Bond, James Bond. You could even type in your actual name, but this will now function correctly. If you hit play, you say, what is your first name? Well, my name is Eli. And what's your last name? Put my last name. Ah, your name is Cutchin, Eli Cutchin. Perfect, that's exactly what we wanted. Except, what if you want these things to be capitalized? Because these are names after all, and what if somebody like me was just so lazy and didn't want to capitalize their own name? What if they want you to do it for them? The solution to that is actually quite simple. It's not too hard. All you have to do is at the end of your variable, wherever you're calling it or putting it or whatever, you just put dot title. This is going to be a thing, isn't it? Me not being able to spell. Title. And then dot title, with the parentheses on the end of it, will capitalize the first letter of your string. I didn't dot title that, whoopsies. There we go, dot title. Now if you run it again and you do the exact same thing, you can see, what is your first name? James. Oh, what if I don't capitalize it? James. And then Bond. And your name is Bond, James Bond. It's pretty cool, right? If you run it again, but you capitalize random things, first name James, and then what if you title it like that? Ah, it fixed it for us. What do you know? So this is pretty simple. These are the first two pairs that you have to do. I just walked you through these. These were not very hard at all. Very easy to do. You just put .title at the end of those to make those capitals and require input. Oh! You know what? I just realized you guys can't see some of the stuff over here because I was blocking. I was blocking with my face cam. I didn't even see that till just now. So sorry. Let me just recap real quick what I just said. There's new file, there's new folder, and you right click new file. I'm so mad at myself for not realizing that my camera was in front of those things. I'm gonna have to move the camera again because there's a button up there I need. Let me just move it down. Okay, let's just put it there. That works. All right. Here's your play button. All right, and there's your stuff. Okay, play button's over here that I was talking about earlier to hit play and run your. Jeez Louise, man. Ugh. All right, I'm back now after realizing what a terrible job I've done. Here you have what they want you to do for your individual activity. Basically want you to just print an ID badge similar to this one. So the stuff that's inside the brackets is the stuff that you want to print out. Now you don't want the brackets there. When you actually run the program, you don't want there to be the brackets in your finished product, but you have these things. Now I'm going to start you guys out with a little bit of a template or a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do here. So we're going to do a new file. We'll call this one, yeah, we'll just t.py. That's what we'll call it. Individual activity. I'm going to start you guys out with what your print statements are going to look like to try to get it to look as much like that as you can. Give you some hints on that, but you guys already know how to take input. And that's pretty much all you have to do. You have to write to the console to say, take in input for these things, for the first name, the last name, for the job title, for the ID number, for the email address and the phone number, and just take in the input as it is. That's all you have to do. And then all you just have to do is just print it out. Now, just for an idea, they do want these dashes there, though. So how you would do something like that is you could do like you could do print and then just put a ton of dashes there. There you go. Put a couple spaces. There you go. So now you have this. If you were to just run this, you would get that. Now the last name needs to be all caps. That was one of their requirements for the course at school. And I'm also going to say go ahead and do it here. It just helps you learn. But if you're going to do it, let's actually add in last name here. We're going to put in L name, even though that still says, you know, what's your name. But say we put L name here. All you have to do is you have to put dot upper. That's it. Boom. And then when you type in these two things, it'll print them just like that. So let's give it a shot. Let's go. What is your, this is going to be first name, right? Yeah. We're going to do James. And then this is your last name. And then Bond. Okay, Bond James. So now you have a capital, first name and an all caps last name. Now they also want you to say ID, which you do it the same way you do here. You use the F, the function way, and then you type in ID before that. Perfectly logical. And you guys can figure out the rest on how to do that here. There is one more thing, kind of like a stretch challenge that I can give you guys that they also give for the course is after you give this information, the last name, first name, job title, ID, email address, and phone number, there are 2 extra field that they allow you if you would like to push yourself a little bit to go do. And I recommend it. It's kind of good to learn. I never learned this before. I had to learn it on the fly because I didn't know that. So you'll ask them for their name, their job title, ID number. You'll ask them for their email and their phone number. And then you'll have these extra ones at the bottom that you can ask for. Adding these aren't very hard. The challenge is getting these things to line up properly. Now you have hair brown, eyes blue, month September, and they kind of explain what these are, and I'll kind of explain them. Month is just the month that you started the job. So we're pretending that this is an ID card for like a job. So you can like scan the ID card or show it to a guard and they'll let you in kind of thing. So you have this stuff. You have your hair brown, your eyes blue, month September, as in the month that you started. And so all they require is just to have a month name. They don't require you to have a year or anything like that. And then, did you do any advanced training? That's what they called it. Did you do any advanced training? And when you ask the user for this input, you can phrase it like that if you'd like. You could say like month, I cannot spell, month, input, and you could say, oh, I accidentally pressed it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You say month, you say, what is your start month? Or like, what month did you start the job? And then you ask things like, what is your eye color? You'd ask, have you had any additional training? And then you can call that one train, or instead, you guys get the idea. You can add that. Now, spacing quite like this is a little bit, this is the part I didn't know. When they asked me to do this, when I took this class, they asked me to space these apart evenly, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. I had never come across that before. I've programmed for quite some time, and I never remember actually having to do anything like this. Now, I Googled it, and very quickly it came up, the answer. But I believe I Googled something like, it was like Python spacing format, or format spacing, or something like that. So it's not hard. Just Google it. You guys can figure it out. That's my stretch challenge for you guys, is to make the ID card look like this. All right, really quick, I'm going to show you guys how it works when you're in Sublime Text instead. So you're going to have your Sublime Text open, just like you have this one open. You're typing in your code and stuff, and you save it. Then you're going to come to your PowerShell. You're going to open Windows PowerShell. This works similarly if you're on a Mac. You just go to where you saved the information, to where you saved the file. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to show you guys the file that I made for class. I won't show you the text or the program that I made, but I'll just show you how it functions. And so we're going to come through here. We're going to type ls, and that'll show us where we are, where we're currently located. I'm located in users and then my name. And so that's just basically like clicking on PC. So we're basically like right here. This is basically where we are. And so if you come down here, you'll read there's all this stuff and stuff. We're going to go into OneDrive BYU-Idaho because that's where I've saved my stuff. So we're going to go cd 1, and then, oh, it's probably going to come up with the first one. Ooh, that's not what I want. OneDrive space. Oh, it's not going to work, I don't think, because I put a space in it. Oopsies. That might not work. No, it didn't work. Okay, I totally forgot about this. I didn't bring this up before because it just didn't cross my mind. Don't put any spaces in the location where you're going, because it's not going to work. Just like here, I have OneDrive BYU-Idaho. That's where I have it, and it's just not going to understand. It just doesn't understand because there's a space in there. It doesn't get it. It doesn't know where you're going. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to desktop. I'm going to go cd desk, and then I can hit tab after I type enough of it out. I think it's 3 letters minimum. But you type out enough letters for it to understand where you're going, and you hit tab, and it'll autofill it for you. It knows I'm going to the desktop because I typed in desk and then hit tab. And you can hit enter. Hit ls again. It'll show you everything that is on your desktop. Now we're going to go to CSE110 because that's where I put the code so that we could actually do this. cd CSE110. Enter there. ls. All right, all we have is week 1, so we hit CD. CD also stands for change directory, by the way. Hit W, week 1, and then ls again. So now we have our activities. Now, if you've installed Python correctly and you have a version of Python on your system, you'll be able to do what I'm about to do here. You'll be able to say Python ind enter. Now it already filled it, not enter, I'm sorry, tab. ind tab, and it brings up your individual activity. If you hit enter, it'll start to go through the program. So you just type in Python, and then you type in the first few letters of the file that you want, hit tab, and it'll autofill it for you like it has here. And then hit enter, and it'll start the program for you. So we'll run through the program and see what it looks like here in Windows PowerShell. Also, another quick note. If you are using Visual Studio Code, like this right here, you can store your files wherever. I've stored my files in in the BYU-Idaho OneDrive file, and I've been using Visual Studio Code to run that code through that. It works perfectly fine if you're using Visual Studio Code and that extension for Python, but it doesn't work if you're going through the PowerShell like I'm doing here. So just keep that in mind. Depending on where you are storing your files and what program you're using, you're going to have to switch up a little bit. All right, so what is your first name? We're going to put James. What's your last name? Bond. What's your email address? Email at example.com. What is your phone number? We'll say 555-555-5555. That is a great phone number, right? What is your job title? On quality assurance. What is your ID number? Let's do that. What is your hair color? We'll say brown, because that is what my hair color is. What is your eye color? Brown, also. What month did you start? I started in January of this year, I guess. Have you completed advanced training? We'll say no. Perfect. This is what populates when you do it correctly. It says the ID card is, and then this. Last thing that I want to talk about before we finish up, we wrap up and we're out of here, and you guys don't have to listen to my voice anymore. I know you guys don't enjoy it. So the last thing that we are doing here is we're going to talk about the prove, the file that you have to submit at the end of week 1. Now, this is called Clever Stories, and in real terms, all it is it's a Mad Lib. Now, when I did this, I just Googled Mad Lib, Mad Lib templates that you can use, or Mad Lib examples, or something like that. So I got something like this. I think this is the one I used. Today I went to the zoo, and I just copied and pasted this. And then here, where you have these lines that you fill in, I erased those spots and I put variables. And let me show you what I mean by that. So here I have, today I went to the zoo. I saw a or an, and then adjective 1, noun 1. And I say what did I say? This is a past tense verb. Yeah, PTV is a past tense verb. Another thing that I want to show you guys is this backward slash. A backward slash can be used to continue text from a previous line. So, for example, if I typed down here, S1 or for story 1 or something, and I type F, like we were talking about, and I can put my variables in here, variable 1, whatever, call them whatever I want, and then type some random stuff in there. If I hit enter, like say I hit the end of my line and I'm like, oh, I don't want the text to continue on way past the screen and stuff. So what am I going to do about that? Let me just hit enter and keep typing. Well, see, now it's throwing an error because it's only looking at this line, and it's like there's no closing word for this, and here's the closing word, but it's on the next line. If you come over here, hit space, backward slash, it now considers, whoopsies, let's bring that back. It now considers this next line to be the same as the one before. It helps you save some space, it makes it easier to read, just like you can see up here. It makes it easier to read, line by line, instead of having the line continue all the way across the screen and way past it and go down the line. So it's just a little bit easier if you put the slashes in there. Another note is, you'll see I have these slash ins right here. The slash in is a character for a new line. So if when you print the story at the very end, you don't want the text for the story to continue all the way down to the end and then return and then come all the way down. It's just, it's down here, so it'd come all the way down to here and then return and come. It's just really long. It's really wide. So you can put these in, this slash in for a new line, and it will just print it out down the line, kind of in a more readable format, kind of like how you see kind of stuff here. So kind of how you're reading it here is kind of how it'll show up, depending on the length of the variables that you put in there. But you do this, you make a story variable, and then you ask for all the input, and you slide it on in there. If you guys have any questions for me, if you guys have anything that you feel like I didn't explain very well, you'd rather me re-explain it, or anything like that, any extra questions, you guys can comment down below. I will reply to them. I check these comments fairly regularly, so feel free to go ahead and comment, just ask a question. If it's something generic about Python that you're just not quite getting, if it's something to do with your setup, you say, oh, when I go to Visual Studio Code, there's no play button there for me, things like that. Go for it, throw it down there. Like I said, I check fairly regularly, so I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys for joining me on this one. I hope you guys got some good out of this, and I'll see you guys next week.